Doing an inspection on a home that's being purchased, and they may have already had a home inspection. I'm not sure. They called me out because there are obvious moisture issues, and I want to go through some of this stuff. That's a real red flag with this house. You can see that there's been some waterproofing done. This is a product called dimple drain board, and it's applied when you're doing waterproofing. It was actually installed backwards. The dimples are on this side, and the dimples are supposed to be on the other side. They got the flat side there. It's hard to tell, but that will actually potentially trap moisture. The dimples are supposed to go on the actual foundation. The point is, if there's dimples in the fabric, then if moisture gets behind that fabric, it can drain down behind it into your footing drains and not create pressure onto the foundation where it wants to force that water through the foundation. Brick and mortar is porous. Water goes through it. You can waterproof it, but that will eventually fail if there's enough hydrostatic pressure over time. It's hard to make a waterproofing system that's bulletproof if it's constantly being hit with water pressure and hydrostatic pressure and failed footing drains, these types of things. The first thing is you want to make sure that your waterproofing contractor knows what he's doing and installs the dimple drain board correctly. It looks like they've done a French drain. These rocks here hopefully are tied into a footing drain. The goal is, as water's collecting around the foundation, have it dump into a French drain. You've got to locate if there's an exit pipe somewhere that's functioning. Even when you do the proper type of waterproofing and French drain around the foundation, you still want to have your grading set up so that water flows away from the house. As you can see in this one here, got this garden edging, nicely done. But it's creating an area where the soil is actually pitched back towards the house. Yesterday, we got about an inch of rain. It was a lot. All of that rain that landed in this area is trapped in here and going into this French drain. If it's brand new, then it might work really well. But over the course of 3 years, 5 years, you can see nobody's blowing out the debris. This debris starts to settle in there and compact and compost. This waterproofing system is going to fail, and water's going to go into this foundation here. Water's going to go underneath the slab as well. You get damp foundations. You get ants in your foundation. In fact, we'll come over and take a look at this. Might be hard to see, but maybe you can zoom into there. The soil is starting to get up in contact with the wood here. You can see that extends this way. We've got a little place here where all these little black ants are heading into the area there. So what happens, ants don't like dry wood, ants like wet wood. When you have a scenario like this where the wood is going to be constantly damp because the mulch is sitting against it, then the ants will move in. A lot of people start having these ant infestations and they don't realize that it's because you have some water damage somewhere that you can't find. Ants usually equal water damage in most scenarios here. This is going to be a problem. You're going to have to dig up a lot of the work that was done here because, again, they don't have the drain board anymore. This is all set too high against the wood now. This is the top of the slab here. Waterproofing can help with that, but you want your soil level to be down several inches from the top of the slab. Right now, this stuff's even with the top of the slab. All it's going to take is one really good rain event. And again, remember that grading? Look how all this is sloping back towards the house here, right? I can feel this French drain down here. Probably going to be a nice snake in there with it. As this gets overwhelmed, that water is going right into the house here. That's a potential for fairly catastrophic water damage in the brand new home that you just purchased. Not new home, but new to you. A couple of things that have to happen here. One, you're really going to have to take the soil here, maybe an excavator. You just got this out. This has got to go, right? It's too much. I'm standing high above the slab level in here right now. All this has got to be dug down. The soil pulled out. I can create a little bit of a valley in here, right? Once we get the water moving into the backyard, who cares, right? Well, we got to get it shedding away from the foundation. We got to get the soil level lower than the slab level in this little addition here. Then, of course, we have a crawl space here underneath this one. This is an old foundation vent for that crawl space. Dare to say that that's not functioning anymore. Again, the more you have moisture, see all this is All this water is coming this way, grading, pooling here around this. And as you have that water sitting against the foundation, then you start getting cracks in your foundation. You see that? What's happening is the water sitting against this foundation, it's staying wet deep underneath the soil where that foundation is, it starts to move a little bit. You want it sitting on bone dry soils. You don't want water ever going into your footing drains, ever sitting against the foundation, because as that stays wet, the foundation will start moving and sometimes even slip. This is definitely moving here. Same. If this continues, it's going to get worse over time. We were at a house yesterday that had one of these units. They're commonly called a package unit or a gas pack. It's basically, well, this would be a package unit because it has no gas, but it's basically the entire air conditioning system all in one unit. This is the condenser coil here. You'll have the drain over here for the evaporator coil. Now, a couple of things that are important to note. This thing is sitting in a little bit of a bowl. It's very damp in here. It's going to stay really damp around this air handler unit. The ductwork is protected by this flashing here, passes from the air conditioning system into the crawl space here. All of the air is being brought back from your house into this system through the evaporator coil right here. You can see how it's just sitting in this really damp environment. This little sheet metal is not going to block all of this ambient moisture. The damper it is around these package units like this, the more likely it is your evaporator coil is going to be damp and creating more mold growth, things like that, inside the unit itself. You really want to have these up off the ground. They've actually got a nice stand here. They've got it raised up. Over time, they're going to continue to add this mulch, and it'll continue to get worse. You really want to maintain this by, of course, having proper grading, making sure that water can flow away from this easily. Probably stay away from pine straw and mulch, maybe some river stones or something like that to keep it a lot drier around this area here. If you want the water to shed away quickly, stay away from your air handler, not pool next to it. And then you want to keep the mulch and things like that away from the system. With mulch, you get ants and other things that can get into this system and get into your ductwork, believe it or not, which is not fun. This is the drain for your evaporator coil. As you can see, this is emptying fairly flat next to the unit. They bury that. That'll start backing up your water into your evaporator coil, which is one of the more common reasons why these units end up with mold in them, is because the evaporator coil was just constantly wet inside and the water was backing up. And that water is in a pan, and its job is to drain out of here freely. As this pipe gets clogged up, when you have these types of pipes get clogged up in the more traditional split system, there's a safety sensor that will shut off the actual system so that you're compelled to make a service call before the water backs up into your evaporator coil. When this happens, it can cause mold in your system, but it can cause mold in your duct. It can also stop dehumidifying your house, and you can get mold on all of your contents. I've seen jobs that have $30,000 worth of damage and health-related problems because of a $30 safety sensor is not installed properly. But these units don't even have a safety sensor. This starts backing up, you can't tell, and it'll just do that for years. You really want to be able to monitor the sections around here that are getting covered up with debris to see if you can see water coming out of the bottom of your air handler. You'll know that something's wrong and you'll be compelled to make that service call and get it fixed. You need to make sure that your air conditioning contractor understands this stuff, because a lot of times when you're paying your $70 annual maintenance fee, it's just for the guy to show up and spray a water hose on these coils, look at it, maybe check the pressure on the coolant or the refrigerant and see if it's okay. You want to make sure that he's actually looking at the drainage, the grading around it, that he's making sure there's not moisture collecting in here, that he's looking for signs that that coil pan is backed up. These are all the things. You have to remove the screws here. It's a pain in the you-know-what. You want to remove the screws here and open up and inspect the interior of your evaporator coil every single time you have this serviced, because that's where all the nastiness happens. If you're going to have mold inside your ducts, it's usually because of a problem inside your evaporator coil that went unnoticed. If you're going to have mold inside your house and high humidity, it's very often because of a problem with your evaporator coil and the drainage system that went unnoticed. Air conditioning guys are not really looking for that. They should be, but they're not. Your air conditioning guy should, and you should make sure that he understands that.